Hey guys, Willie here from DreamHouse Music, and I wanted to go over Total Praise by Richard Smallwood. It's in the key of D flat or C sharp. I want to go over it in an intermediate kind of way, describe the chords and the changes, and explain how to get to the chords, right? I don't want to just show you, I want to explain to you the theory behind them. So that's what this will be for. I'm going to do a quick playthrough and then break it down, and let's see if we can learn something. All right. So before you play, you should know your D flat scale, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1, and you should know your diatonic chords built on that scale: the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7. Okay, we're not necessarily going to have all those chords, but those are the foundation chords that you must at least know, because you're going to adjust those chords to Richard's chord voicing and progressions, right? So let's do a quick playthrough. Okay, so that was a quick playthrough. All right. So again, we're in the key of D flat, so you should know your D flat scale and your D flat diatonic chords. Okay, if you don't know those and you're not in DreamHouse Unicademy, click the link below and join to learn those foundation chords. All right. So at the beginning, you all know the song. It's a classic. We're just pedaling on the 1 chord. All right. So the 1 chord is D flat, F, A flat. For those of you who are a little bit more beginner, we invert the chord. Okay, so put the bottom note on top in your right hand, and in your left hand you have the 1 and the 5. Okay, the 1 and the 5 of the 1 chord is D flat and A flat, so we just put that down here. And you can use your pedal while you pulse the right hand. So for counting, right, 1 2 3 4 and 1. See, when I did and 1, I did the A flat, which is the 5 of the D flat scale. 1 2 3 4 5. I did octaves, okay, and 1. That's all it is. 2 3 4 and 1 2. All right, and it's just the diatonic chord 1. That's all Richard did, right? He used the 1 chord, he inverted it, and he, you know, doubled up on the notes in the left hand. Okay? All right, let's move on. I will lift. Well, it's a 6-7-1 progression. Okay, which is B flat, C, and D flat. I will lift. Now, how do we harmonize that bass line progression? Okay, so it's a 6 chord, and I believe Richard used a 6 chord as well, which is a B flat minor. This is a diatonic 6, B flat minor. Okay, and so it's inverted. We have the F on the bottom like this. Because the melody is, I think, is D flat, I, which is the 1, right? So that's why we took this F on the bottom, because the melody is on top. So I, and then will is just a 5/7. Typical gospel progression. It's a 5 chord, and the middle note, the C, is on the bottom. And then we walk into the 1 again. This time, the 1 chord has the A flat on the bottom, not the top, so it's second inversion. When you take a major chord in root position, put the top note on the bottom, that is second inversion. Okay, which means the second note is on top, the F. All right, so Lord, I will lift. It's that simple. Okay, and you could also, when you do that walk up, you could add more notes in the left hand. You could do octaves. Right, in your left hand, I will lift, something like that. If you're more advanced, you could do stretch 10s. Right, so in my left hand, I'm doing a 6 B flat and a 1 D flat. Right, that's a minor third, just dropped an octave lower, the B flat, an octave lower. You could do this. Right, on this 5/7, what I did is I stretched the C. Usually you would play an octave C and C, but I stretched the C to an E flat, and that's a 10, right? So just count the alphabet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Or up the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the distance between C and E flat is a distance of 10. Will lift. Make the chords a little bit better. Mine eyes. Mine eyes is a 2, 3. Now, what's the chord on the 2, 3? I believe I heard a 5. 5/2. Am I saying that right? Lord, I will live. So when I say 5/2, I'm talking about a 5 dominant chord, okay? A flat, C, E flat, A flat, C, E flat, G flat, okay? It's an A flat dominant 7, and the voicing in the left hand is I took the E flat here, put it on the bottom here, because it's a 2 progression, meaning we're on the 2 of the D flat scale, okay? And then I just repeated the C. Now there's many ways to voice it, but this is a nice voicing, right? This is a nice intermediate voicing. I don't need to do more than that. So, Lord, I will lift my... Okay, so it's a dominant chord with the E flat on the bottom. I heard people say this is a inverted dominant. It is inverted because the A flat is not on the bottom, the E flat is. Right? So if you have any other note other than the root that's on the bottom, it's inverted, right? You could also look at this as a 7 chord over 2, so 7/2, right? If you're playing it more basic, this 7 chord is C diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's your diatonic 7/2. All right, that's another way to look at it, which is a part of the A flat dominant 7. The top 3 notes is a C diminished. Okay. Anyway, from here we go to back to a 1 chord. Right. See, here's our diatonic 1 chord. Right. That's why I always say learn your diatonic chords. Right. Like it's harder if you don't know them. Right. D flat, F, A flat. That's a 1 chord with the 3 on the bottom, the F. Okay, and I can repeat the 1 in my right hand. All right. And then 2. So there's that 2. It's a B flat in the melody here, and we're on a 4 chord basically. Diatonic 4, G flat major. Some people say F sharp, and it's inverted into second inversion. Okay, so if I play a G flat, this is the root position. First inversion, second inversion. Okay, and in my left hand, you just use the 1 and the 5 of the chord in root position, right? The right hand is inverted. And then back to the, it's just a one, back to 1/3. To the, here's my favorite chord, heels. Back in the day, I couldn't get that chord. Like, I didn't understand it, but it's this. Heels. What is that? It's a diminished chord, right? You gotta know your diminished chords. Diminished 7th chord. You could say from the root, heels, it's a flat 2 to the 2. Flat 2 in the D flat scale means drop the E flat, which is a 2, down a semitone to a D. Okay, and on this D, we build a diminished 7th. A diminished 7th chord has a space of 3 semitones between each note. So from D, the next note would be 1, 2, 3 semitones up, F, and then 3 semitones again, 1, 2, 3, A flat, and then 3 semitones again, 1, 2, 3. So there's some theory for you. Want to build a diminished 7th chord? Take any note, count up 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's all you do to build a diminished 7th. Now, if you do it again, 1, 2, 3, you're just going to get back to the root, which is a D. Okay? Now, I believe Richard inverted it like this, though. So he has the B, D, F, A flat, which is the root, first, second, third inversion of the chord. Right? And then in the left hand, you could double up on the D. So it's a flat 2. And where are we going next? Usually in gospel, when you have a diminished chord on the flat 2, usually, not all the time, you're going to a 2 chord, which a 2 diatonic chord is E flat minor. Okay, you need to know your diatonic chords. So that's a typical gospel progression, right? That flat 2 into a minor, okay? 2 minor, which is E flat minor in this case. And I'm playing it in, well, root, first inversion, second inversion. Heels. You can play it bigger. Heels. Okay, something like that. For those of you who are more advanced in your left hand, heels. I can barely reach myself, right? Heels. And then he does a passing chord. Okay, that's a classical sounding move there. It's basically a flat 7, which is a B, a 6, 2. So flat 7, 6, 2. Okay, that sets up the knowing, right? Heels, passing chord, boom, to the 2, right? Very interesting sound. Well, what's the chords though, right? So, like I said, the bass note progression is a flat 7, 6, 2. You need to know your scale. Flat 7 is, well, the 7 is C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the D flat scale. Flat 7 is a semitone lower, a B. And the 6 is a B flat. And the 2 is an E flat. Okay, and that's what he did. Now, what's the chords over this movement that Richard did? Well, it's a B major chord, right? And I'm playing it in, here's B major in root position. You could play it in second inversion. Okay, so you need to know your B chords. So in a sense, we've kind of almost changed key here, right? So B major, and then we go to B flat major. So you just drop down a semitone. Okay, very powerful movement. Right? So that's all it is. B major to a B flat to an E flat. Okay? But you should also know it using the number system. Flat 7, right? 6 major. Alright, maybe I should rewind. So flat 7 is major. The 6, the diatonic 6 is minor, but Richard didn't use the diatonic 6. He raised the D flat to a B. The D flat to a D, which makes it a B flat major chord. So he changed the diatonic chord, in other words, with this progression here. can play it in this inversion. Okay. Knowing. So interesting movement there. So knowing. Now it's almost like we're in E flat minor, right? We've kind of changed key. But it goes from an E flat minor to a B. Now, to get an E flat minor chord to a B, all you got to do is raise the B flat to a B. And Richard uses that, right? So very interesting movement. So you just raise the B flat to a B and you have a B major chord in basically first inversion, sorry. Right? Here's a B major chord. Okay, so the only difference between E flat and B major is you raise the 5 of the E flat to a B. So he did. Now we went from an E flat to a B. Okay, so the basic movement is you're going from an E flat minor to a B major chord. So knowing my how. Okay, so that's the movement. But let's rewind. I don't want to miss anything here. So E flat minor, which is the 2 chord, to the flat 7 major, and then my is back to that D diminished chord, but it's inverted, and you could invert it with the F on top. So you got to know your D diminished 7th, and if you invert it with the F on top, well, just move the F on top, right, and you get this. So you could do that movement, or you could play in the left hand. Okay, now the bass player does an interesting movement for this chord progression. So that's the basic progression, but the bass player goes ba 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 ba. So he's kind of playing, he's putting in some passing filler notes around the progression, right? So the basic progression is knowing my help, but he goes ba 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 ba, right? So he's just using the notes from the chord. So like the B flat, which is a 6, because he goes which is the 5 of the B flat, and then he goes, sorry, no, there's the B flat, the 6, and then he goes into that D, right, of the D diminished 7th into that E flat minor. Okay, so very nice movement. Sorry. As a pianist, it's good to know what the bass player is doing, right? Right, and I think that's all I would do with that. Yeah, that's all. So that's the movement there. Now after that E flat minor, then you go back to that A flat diminished 7th. Okay, so there's our A flat, sorry, dominant 7, not diminished. Okay, and it's just in root position, so you can play the 1 and the 5 in your left hand, or the 1 and the flat 7 in your left hand. So no, notice I fell from the D flat into the C of the chord. Da, da. That's called a suspended release. So that's a suspension. The 4, right, between A flat and D flat is a 4 falling to a 3 to make it a major. Sus chord to a major 3rd, right? Right, so that's what I did. Right? Let me go slow. Okay.